He was arrested. He's had to hire Leslie to represent him, which is not cheap because she's very good. He gets to court. The prosecutor's office is like, which it is their duty of the Harris County DA's office to not bring charges where the law does not back them up. These lawyers were like, he's too young. He shouldn't have a gun. Don't care that what he did is not against the law.
We are the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about some legislative proposals here in the Lone Star State. And, I think these are important. This is some ideas for consideration in other states. So we hope you hang out with us. But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And I'll say, post Texas constitutional or permitless carry, I'll say everybody was like, woohoo, we won. And there's still so much to do.
Yes, and last session was tough because there was a lot of woohoo, we won. This was the 2023 session. Also, we had just had a really horrible incident down in Uvalde, Texas, which really put guns on the defense, not on the offense. We came out of last session in a really good place considering what was the attack that was mounted.
Yeah.
However, 2025, we're on the offense again. We have a ton of bills that we've drafted, a bunch of them that have been filed. Here we go. Buckle up. These are the best new gun laws for 2025.
All right. So let's start with, this has already been filed in Texas. This is HB 170 by Guillen. And this is restitution so in our civil practice and remedies code, there's nobody sitting down at the courthouse saying good lawsuit, bad lawsuit. Anybody can sue anybody for anything. And so we have justified defenders getting dragged into frivolous lawsuits all the time. And what does this bill do?
This bill would help cut that off at the knees by requiring attorney's fees be paid in certain circumstances for justified defenders. Because what we have right now is this idea, and this is, of course, in Texas, but many states have similar laws, that if you were justified in your self-defense, you can't be held civilly liable in damages. But damages does not include your attorney's fees. You still have to mount that case, pay your lawyers. It puts people in the poorhouse. And there's nothing to deter people from filing a frivolous lawsuit because plaintiff's attorneys work on contingency, so that guy's not out any money.
Right.
Plaintiff's attorneys are stupid scumbags.
Yep.
Generally, so they'll file bad lawsuits because that's just part of their cost of doing business. You file some good ones, file some bad ones, get paid out on some, not on others, and they don't care. They don't care. So yeah, I mean, we have this huge problem in Texas.
Yeah, and so again, even though we have civil immunity, it's damages, doesn't keep you from getting sued. You still have to respond to these lawsuits. Lawyers are very expensive. This maybe creates a big discouraging, hey, back off, leave this justified self-defender alone.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next one we have, some of these are really easy. We don't have to spend too much time on. Automatic reciprocity.
Automatic reciprocity. We have a compassionate carry for carrying by accident into a gun-free zone, not being charged with the crime for that.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, this started with, I had a client who, watching a football game at a high school, out at a high school field, dog jumped out of the bed of his truck, chased his dog, regained capture of him, but had a heart attack inside of the sports complex.
Inside of the sports complex, I remember that.
And instead of saying, oh,
Whoa.
Sorry, elderly gentleman who just had a heart attack, they said, you're under arrest for carrying in a prohibited place.
Yeah, that was all. What happened to that case?
I think it ended up getting dismissed, but
okay, good.
It's still
awful.
Getting charged with a felony. Not cool. So we want to have some grace there. That's HB 925 filed by Briscoe Kane.
Mm-hmm.
All right, automatic reciprocity. I didn't give you the number for that one. That was HB 1337 by Kerry Isaac. That got filed last session. Basically, right now, the governor of the state of Texas, he chooses which states we want to recognize their license or permit to carry. This would just say, hey, your state issued this thing. We're going to recognize it automatically. Oh, this next one. You should talk about that one.
Oh, yes. This is decriminalizing carry by ISD employees who have licenses. So this is filed in the Texas Senate. It's filed under SB 83 by Senator Hall. This makes perfect sense. We, this should not be a controversial statement on a gun channel, but I know some people actually even who watch our channel differ. But I will say, Richard and I do not. We want responsible, trained license holders who want to carry as ISD employees to carry into the schools. Why? Why do we want more guns in schools? Because all of the FBI statistics John Lott statistics, all of the available data tells us that when there is an active shooter in a school, it is not like how many minutes they've been in there, it's not how many people they've hurt. It is what ends their attack is the presence of armed resistance. And as soon as they meet armed resistance, they are incredibly likely to stop their attack, whether or not the armed person stops them, whether or not they stop it themselves. I can't really say the things I want to say because of the YouTube algorithm, but you know where I'm going with that. That is what stops these. So the more arms we have by the good people in the school who are willing to step up and protect it, the shorter these incidents are, lives are saved.
Yeah. And, and this is a kind of Democrat, Republican, I guess you could say, paradigm here. Since the left usually considers things mandates, this isn't, tossing a revolver to a 9-year-old librarian in a bandolier saying, buckle up, buckaroo.
No, Barbara does not have to go buy a gun and carry inside the library if she does not want to.
Just gives the capacity to.
Yes, anyone who's comfortable, and again, license holders only, but anyone who's comfortable, wants to, is willing to take that upon themselves to save some kids.
Yep.
Go do it.
All right, next one we have is HB 259 by Representative Hayes.
Not this Hayes. A similar Hayes.
A similar Hayes, and this would decriminalize short-barreled rifles. And I think this is really important. Right now, and I think we should do this with virtually all law in Texas, completely decoupled from federal law.
Yes.
We should not be making references to federal law, because then when the feds go behave badly, guess what? It has the inadvertent effect of messing up state law. We have state agents enforcing this thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we happened with the final rule on factoring criteria for stabilizing braces.
Exactly. That is the impetus for this bill, is a short barrel rifle was a short barrel rifle until a short barrel rifle was an AR pistol with an arm brace. And once the federal government decided that, when your law as a state is coupled with the federal law, well, congratulations. One more thing just got illegal in Texas too.
Yeah, and we still have, and for everybody who, I'm sure most folks know, but just as a refresher, that rule on stabilizing braces doesn't exist, right? So we go back to where were we before the status of this law? Pistol arm braces, legal under federal law. Your state's law may vary. But we look at, and we still see people arrested here in Texas by state authorities for having arm braces because of the confusion that this has caused. It still needs clarification.
Looking at you, Houston Police Department.
All right, so this came up recently with our partner, Leslie. We need to codify carrying for 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, whether it's without a license under constitutional permitless carry or whether they're getting a license to carry.
Yes. So what happened? What had happened was we had a lawsuit filed by qualified 18, 19, 20-year-olds who said, I need to be able to carry in the state of Texas. I can't get a license. I can't carry constitutionally. This violates Bruin. Give me that gun. And this was McCraw versus Andrews v. McCraw.
Yep.
And the decision made, which is the final decision, right? We are done with appeals, is that Texans between the ages of 18 and 20 must be allowed an avenue to carry. And in the order by the judge, the law enforcement bodies in Texas were ordered not to enforce Texas Penal Code 46.02 as to 18, 19, 20-year-olds. So what the DPS has done is not only decide to issue them licenses, which is wonderful, applaud that, but also they are not supposed to be arresting people for constitutionally carrying just because they're under the age of 21. However, did we actually fix that in the code book last section, Richard?
No. So when you look at the black and white law, and this is why, hate lawyers all you want, but this is why folks, if you just read the black and white of the law, hey, maybe you're going to get bad information here. The black and white says you got to be 21. But we know that this is modified by case law and that effectively it is 18. However, Leslie had a client arrested for carrying under these provisions. She even brought it to the court's attention, and the court needed more time to figure it out.
Yes. So this young man was properly carrying under constitutional carry. He was arrested. He's had to hire Leslie to represent him, which is not cheap because she's very good. He gets to court. The prosecutor's office is like, which it is their duty of the Harris County DA's office to not bring charges where the law does not back them up. These lawyers were like, He's too young. He shouldn't have a gun. Don't care that what he did is not against the law. And the judge, when given briefing on the matter, said, I don't know. I'm going to keep this case. I'm going to find probable cause because I don't understand, basically.
Yeah.
Which is a miscarriage of justice.
So
he's still charged with the crime.
Yeah. So apart from the injustice there, we need to go back, fix the black and white, make it reflect what the current state of the law is so that this kind of nonsense doesn't happen.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, we got a couple more. These have not been filed yet, but they're on our wish list. This is being able to file a motion to dismiss based on an affirmative defense being present. Now, in past legislative sessions, Texas, we've had Democrats over our criminal jurisprudence committee. None of our self-defense stuff has gone anywhere. Maybe this is the session where it changes, but essentially we want folks to be able to assert their self-defense claim early in the process, not get their life destroyed.
Yes, this is my personal pet project that has been thwarted by Joe Moody for several years now, but we likely will not have a Democratic chair of crim jur this up and coming year, which means everything's coming up Emily, and I'm going to get my pretrial immunity, and we're going to have hearings after hearings. I'm going to be a pretrial immunity hearing machine, and all these cases are going to get dismissed, and I am pumped.
Well, and I'm hopeful that this shouldn't be controversial.
No.
And we've tinkered with the language a little bit. But if you have an affirmative defense, this is when the legislature says, hey, you should not be held criminally responsible because, all right, possession or marijuana. You have a compassionate use card or obstructing a license plate because you had a bicycle rack on.
Right. Those are affirmative defenses.
Yes.
Much like self-defense is an affirmative defense to using force or deadly force against someone.
So, but what we see is a lot of cops will just say, meh, prove it at trial or whatever. I'm going to jam this person up, get him off the streets tonight.
And then the DA says that too.
Yeah,
and so the grand jury says that.
So this should be bipartisan criminal justice reform. Everybody should, if they have a legitimate defense available, should be able to assert them. All right, next, we want to have equal protection for renters for who are forced to act in self-defense. This came up out of a high-profile case in Dallas. Lady stopped burglar climbing through her daughter's window.
Shot him.
Threatened with eviction.
Yeah.
I don't lose my house if I act in self-defense.
Exactly. There is no reason why, if you rent, you should be subject to being evicted for having used lawful self-defense to protect your home, protect yourself and your loved ones. You don't lose your house for it. You shouldn't lose your apartment either. It's a good bill. I think we're going to get that one done.
Yeah. All right. Two more real fast. We need to be the first state to decriminalize non-violent felon in possession of a firearm.
Yes. Your forgery of a government document from 20 years ago when you had a fake tag on your windshield should not lose you your Second Amendment rights today. So Texas is never really on the forefront of good gun laws.
No.
So it's time.
But we're going to start that. And then the last one, I think this would be very interesting. So Scott Pressler, he has done a fantastic job nationwide registering voters. He sent out the call, hey, guess what? We need to register folks to vote if they apply for a license or permit to carry in your state. I'll say Texas's scheme for voter registration makes that very incompatible, but we're looking into it. I would love to make that happen.
It'd be nice. I will say that in the state of Texas, if you have an LTC, like the Venn diagram of people who have LTCs and are registered to vote is probably like almost a perfect circle anyway, but...
Because pretty much any time you interact with the DPS here in Texas, you're given the opportunity to register.
And if you have an LTC, you're already a pretty civic-minded person. So, but it's not a bad thing. Let's do it.
Yeah, but you see, all right, there's still a lot of work to be done here. I know this is Texas specific, but these issues are popping up all over the place, and so I hope you found some value in this, but we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2 AI algorithm by sharing this video.
And stay tuned. When we need you on this, when we need you to call your lawmaker, when we need you to come testify in Austin, we will put out that call. Until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.